Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Grappler Union podcast. Javier Palomo alongside Anthony Zito. Our guests today are Matt Garrity and John Pontarelli. Matt is a purple belt at 10th Planet Chicago, and John is a purple belt at Fit to Defend. Enjoy.
I need the 6 minutes. That's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You told me using any technique that works. Never to limit myself to one style. Keep an open mind.
We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life.
I just started a podcast because that's fucking hilarious.
She was on fire?
She literally tells this story about how her mother was on fire.
Get that mic up in there.
And she just kind of starts right off the bat with that. And
but what was she trying to do? So you work for a cell phone distributor?
I basically work for like cell phone sales, right?
Okay.
And so with that being said, the place that I was working at the time had like a repair
insurance
company that was working within the same store.
And her excuse why the cell phone broke?
Not even with the
that.
excuse. I mean, so basically what ended up happening, she comes in just firing off the bat like, hey, listen, my mother was on fire, puts this thing on the table, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to ask exactly how this story played out.
Right. Can't just leave that one hanging.
She led with that.
So exactly. So what ends up happening is, she goes on this 20, 25-minute story about how she turns the corner, her mother's in distress, and she basically like throws her phone, whatever ends up happening. Tells this 25-minute story, then tells me that she files an insurance claim to get the thing replaced, gets it replaced, and I'm sitting here like, congratulations, what the fuck are you doing here? Pardon my French, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? And she just goes, well, I got pissed at the new one they sent me, and I threw this one too. I literally just spent 30 minutes of my time, you know what I mean? I was like, oh my God.
People are so ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
So ridiculous. But that's a good one, like,
she was trying to develop rapport. She wanted to get, make you vulnerable.
To some degree,
Yeah.
Like, get out of, like, traffic tickets was a thing we used to do when we were younger, like, who had the best story? Like in high school,
get out of the ticket.
My friend got pulled over. He goes, and the cop's like, "Dude, why are you going so fast?" He goes, "I gotta take a shit really bad. I'm sorry. Either I'm gonna shit my pants right now, or you can let me go." The cop actually let him go.
We've all been there. Wow. We've all been there.
That's so funny.
But I've never tried that one.
My mother on fire, or that would probably get you out of a ticket too. Listen, my mother's on fire. I'm just driving.
That's too much detail, though. That would be like what, right? like some people like these like elaborate lies. Like, are you giving me too much fake details?
Yeah.
It's like anything in life, balance.
Balance is important. I don't disagree there. But yeah, no, that's definitely. I mean, the most dramatic thing where I broke a cell phone was I dropped my previous phone while in the Wisconsin Dells on a Mighty Duck ride, trying to take some video. Dropped it, fell screen down on one of the little bolts that holds those uncomfortable chairs in place.
What are you taking a video of?
Just the beauty that is Wisconsin. You know, it's native birds, the mosquito. You know.
How often do you look back at some of these videos you take? Often.
I mean, depends on the video. That probably never.
When you go to Wisconsin,
risk versus reward, probably not there, right?
I mean, probably have some great videos in the Wisconsin Dells. Like the Wisconsin Dells is like the summer white trash capital of the world. So you can get
sorry to all our Wisconsin listeners.
There goes half the base.
No, let's be honest. Wisconsin sucks.
I don't know.
If I was president of the United States, I would trade with the state of Wisconsin for Toronto.
Oh,
I would make that trade in a heartpeat.
Really?
Yes.
Isn't Toronto like the stripper capital of the world or something like that?
Thank you for feeding into my argument. Yeah. But I can't stand the state of Wisconsin.
I was recently in Wisconsin. I was in Madison, Wisconsin, for a new client. And it wasn't bad. I've never been in Madison.
Well, they're going to listen to this podcast. And
it wasn't bad. It was nice. It was like a university town. But it was pretty cool. It seemed nice. So we'll see.
So I should point out that is the voice of Matt Garrity hating on Wisconsin. His views do not represent the podcast as a whole, but he is our guest today, and he's allowed to have his opinions.
That's true. He is. And John Pontarelli
with the flaming mother on fire cell phone story there. Yeah. So.
John, are you related to Nick Pontarelli?
Possibly. There's a lot of Pontarellis out there.
More than one.
Nick Pontarelli is like an Italian crooner. He's a singer. He plays at a lot of restaurants.
Down here in Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago.
Okay.
Like, everywhere in the suburbs.
Sure.
Just be like, yes, of course.
Just, yeah.
Like
I
I
just,
said,
Pontarelli, it's...
Yeah, we're
really
cousins, of course.
Really,
Of
my
course.
dad at one point, he's one of the goofiest dudes you'll ever meet, but he's definitely one of those guys that has lots of goofy fun facts for sure. And one of them that he runs across me every once in a while, he goes, yeah, Pontarelli's like the 150th most common name on the planet. I'm like, I've met I've met maybe like a handful of other Pontarellis, but it's
Why do you know this, Dad?
You know what I mean? Like he just
my
got the
family says the
weirdest
same thing about
information.
Zito. Zito's like, Zito's very common Italian name. I do know some Zitos.
I mean, yeah.
Common, not
yeah.
like Smith.
My last
By no
name
means,
Garrity
yeah.
is like such a popular Irish name.
100%.
Like I've lied to a cop before when I was a kid. It'd be like, like my
wait,
my
how old?
I was like, I mean, like 16. I was like trying to get out of like one of those like they stopped me because I was walking home at like 12:30, 1 in the morning.
Right.
And I was looking at like a curfew thing, and it was like, I grew up in like Jefferson Park, and it's just like a cop, like fireman neighborhood. If cops ever stop you and a kid, the first thing they ask you is like, you related, like your parents cops or whatever? So I was like, oh, my uncle's a cop. And they're like, where's he work? I'm like, he's somewhere on the south side, last name Garrity. And they're like, yeah, that probably sounds right. There's just so many of them.
I play poker with him on
Is
a
curfew
Tuesday
still a
night.
thing?
Yeah.
Is that still a thing, curfew
so,
nowadays?
yeah.
Is it?
Man, I don't really know. I haven't been
really
young in a
know.
long time,
I don't know.
Yeah, like a really long time, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
But I don't hear anything. I mean, maybe because I'm not.
No, it's because you're fucking old. You don't have to deal with that shit anymore. You're a barely grown ass man.
But I'm out and about. I see when I'm out and about.
Not
I
with
see,
underage children, you're not.
No, I'm not. But
See?
I'm in areas where there are
that.
children.
Yeah, well,
and I'm just like, why come there's no curfew right now? Why are these kids out so late?
I truly I have children that theoretically had to deal with that kind of stuff, and I really don't honestly know if curfew is an enforced thing anymore. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, above and beyond the curfew that I set as a parent of like, hey, I'd like to go to sleep at some point tonight, so could you get home by 2 a.m. maybe?
How old are your kids?
Well, my older boys are in their 20s,
Okay.
and then my little one's 12, so we got quite a span there. He has not got... My youngest one is the worst night owl of the bunch, mind you. I had to send him to bed last night. His mother is passed out already, and I'm like, I'm getting kind of tired. He's still watching YouTube. What the fuck? Go to bed.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jeez.
As long as he's YouTube and Jiu Jitsu, it's okay, right?
I mean, he definitely was not at that point.
Do you monitor what he watches on YouTube?
No.
Is there
not-
like parental controls
Nah,
on YouTube?
not really.
Something?
Like
Is there anything bad on? There's no bad things on YouTube.
there's for sure
right?
stuff you
Oh,
should
there are?
not see on YouTube. Not necessarily X-rated stuff, but that is easily accessible too, and we don't put any serious parental controls on like just general internet access in our house.
Oh, you don't?
No, because I find the fastest way to drive kids to do bad things is be like, don't do that. And then they're like,
Well,
don't
it's
do
not-
what?
It's not don't do that. It's just they can't do that.
As soon as your kid finds a site that they can't go to,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, I need to know what that site is. So it doesn't matter.
So they're gonna find it.
It doesn't
some
matter
other
whether
way.
you're blocking like Best Buy or Pornhub.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
as soon as the parental control thing pops up, they're just like, I need to know what this is and
Yeah.
why I can't have access to it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So
But it's like super controlling parents create sneaky kids.
right.
It's
I mean,
just like,
if I want to train a group of ninjas, I'll be more controlling. But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, I had one of my like best friends from growing up. His mom was just like so overbearing and like on him for every little thing, and like he could like be home like 10 minutes late or whatever. Like you're grounded. Basically, everything would end up he be getting grounded. So it got to the point where he was like, well, I'm just gonna sneak out because like if I don't, I'll just get grounded again. I'm already grounded. And it's
Right.
then it just came like he had nothing to lose.
Right. Yeah.
It just never ends.
see, for me, I'm like I'm not gonna rat out which one of them it was, but one of my older boys was exploring the deepest, darkest holes of the internet. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm going to teach you how to clear a search history here. Your mother doesn't need to know about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, incognito tabs. Clear your search history if you're not using them.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good
maybe
point.
don't actually Google those things.
Can't
Yeah.
wait to have kids.
Yeah. Right. Jeez.
I mean, I remember some of the stuff that I did when I was like 12.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, let's rewind that. I remember some of the stuff I did when I was 10, and I'm very thankful that my kids have not been caught doing any of that shit. So
Yeah, but when I was younger, we just had like magazines, and we didn't really have anything.
I mean, yeah, no.
Internet is so
sort of
so easy.
A little different, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, VHS tape was a thing.
VHS.
Yeah.
Beta was a thing too.
Let's not go that old.
I have to go
See, over here with his laser discs of
that
70s.
That was after.
I just think that a lot of parents, especially like first time parents, look at parenting like in a different perspective. They look at it as like, I'm going to try to shelter and control every like situation my kid. And it's like the way I look at parenting should be is like, no, your job is to teach your kid how to make good decisions because you're never always going to be there with them. It's like, no, I'm going to groom you, give you a little more and more freedom as you get older, but it's about teaching you how to make good decisions.
I generally agree.
100%.
It's harder. Yeah. It's harder to do in practice a lot of times because, I not all first-time parents either, but like so many parents are like, I'm going to not yell at my kids ever because I hated when my parents yelled at me or things like that. Not spank them, not do this, not do that. Mm-hmm. And then like the first time your child is about to burn himself on the stove because he climbed up, on a chair while you were looking away, you for sure are yelling at that kid and possibly giving him a quick swat to get him out of danger. But
yeah, it's always a little easier said than done.
Yeah. It's like one of those things. It's like, oh, right.
But one of the things, I noticed, I was watching this show the other day. It was called Zero to Broke or something like that. It's from broke to zero or something like that. Yeah, broke to zero or something.
Those are definitely different directions.
Yeah.
What are we talking here?
From zero to broke. I don't remember what it was on Crackle. Anyway,
okay.
Some kind of like show about basically kids or younger people who are in extreme debt. And this like multi-millionaire is trying to help them get out of debt, but not by giving them money.
And we're filming it because reality.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of advising them on how to do it. Basically, it's. I mean, was he showing? I watched one episode and I was like, okay, I'm pretty much done. I know how this is going to end up because the part of the problem this guy was doing, nothing he was doing was bad, but they would advertise for these apps that would help them. And then you learn that those apps are like sponsoring the show, and you're like,
right,
oh,
of course they are.
Like Handy Made was like one of the, or some kind of
now they're sponsoring our show too?
No.
Why are we giving them the shout out?
I'm sorry. Some kind of like handy app, which a maid service will come to your house and clean your house for you. So basically, he teaches these people how to get out of debt by basically doing silly little things, but would they work? I don't know. It's possible. One of them was wrap your car in advertisement. And the advertisers will then pay you like $250 a month, which can then pay for your car payment. So then you can save
that guy is for sure sponsored by a company that wraps cars.
There you go.
100%.
Yeah.
So and then this other one, after they get out of like not out of debt per se, but they get
zero.
They get closer to paying their $130,000 credit card debt off. Utterly ridiculous. So this is all a matter of like, one episode, right? But they didn't pay it all off. But they're alluding to the fact that they did. They hire a maid service by using this app that this guy or sponsors was part of to clean their house. So this
sounds like the worst scripted television I've ever heard of.
It's so bad. But it made me. It was interesting because I thought it would like because I was never taught finance when I was younger, like how to do that. I got in credit card debt when I was younger. It was the fucking worst. And so I was like, oh wow, there's a show that maybe can help younger people figure out how to get out of debt and give you some good advice.
In reality, just a giant commercial.
In reality, just a giant commercial from a multimillionaire. About other apps you can use.
Clearly, that's how you become a millionaire these days, though. Like
apparently.
In-app purchases and microtransactions.
So I went to school. I have a degree in finance, and then I've worked as like a financial analyst and like a credit analyst in the past. And I used to when I was working as a credit analyst for like a bank, we used to look at people's like all their financial statements and like the debt they have, and like sometimes when you see like someone's credit score and you're just like. Oh. But I was lucky. My parents they were never like financially educated. They kind of like self-educated themselves, but they're just being like really disciplined. Like when I was, I think like 16, like maybe between 14 or 16, like I had like my own, like my parents got like made me set up a bank account, and then I had like a bank account, like credit card, and my mom would be like disciplined. She's like, no, every week you come on, you pay the balance. And then like she got me like a gas card when I was like 16. She's like, you're gonna pay this every month so you like have good credit.
Right.
So then like by the time I was like if I turned like 20 or 21, I already had like an 800 credit score. Nice. So like but But I could definitely see when you don't have that that early the foundation, and before you know it, before you even educate on the subject, you're starting in a negative deficit that you're probably going to be paying for. If you finally get educated and create a plan and stick with it and be disciplined about it, you're probably not going to get out of that if you're lucky until your early 30s.
Yeah, because you already created all those bad habits. So you have all those bad habits, and now you figure it out. Oh fuck! But you're already behind the 8 ball. You're already fucked. And that's what I think when I think about my high school and grammar school and all going to school, and I'm just man, no one really explained. We took religion class. I went to a Catholic high school. We took religion classes. We took typing. Stupid. I mean,
we definitely.
What are we doing here?
I almost want to see if I can find that one. It was a picture, a meme that I saw the other day, and it was somebody asking how do I pay my taxes? How do I rent? How do I buy a car? How do I do this? How do I do basic shit in life?
Yeah.
And then it just says
Pythagorean theorem.
right. And then it will show the school system for childhood or for children. Essentially, it'll show some comedian being goofy or something.
Right.
Well, one of the worst debt, the worst debt you can probably have is student loans, because even if you declare bankruptcy, it's one of the rare forms of debt that you cannot clear out of.
Yeah, how did that get passed through the freaking government?
And also, I think it's terrible that you're expecting an 18, 19-year-old to be no, you need to know what you want to do, and either you're going to college or not. So a lot of kids kind of get forced into going to college. My parents were smart, and I realized I didn't know what I wanted to do or anything. So I just went to regular basic junior college, super cheap, just got an associate's degree, and then kind of figured things out. Where I had friends who were I don't really know what I want to do, but I'm going to U of I and I'm going to pay him $25,000 a year. And you're just you're retarded.
Yeah, it's utterly ridiculous. It's a business. It's utterly ridiculous.
Really is. Yeah. Well, I kind of the same boat. Jumped into a couple more local college at the end of the day, and it is a business. You know what I mean? That's what I feel I learned when I jumped into it, and it's not something that I committed to. I never got my degree by any means. I was investing myself, and it's 100% a business, dude. It really is.
And I don't understand. People drink the Kool-Aid. They're they
want every flavor.
They put those bumper stickers on the back of their car, their kids going to Michigan State or whatever it is. It's what the fuck is going on?
That's more of. It's about a social status, and it's they get to brag to their friends.
Right. That they sent
it's keeping up with the Joneses thing. It's oh, your kid's going to Michigan State, mine's going to U of I. Yeah. And it's and a lot of parents get into that. No, you need to go to school. It's well, I don't know what I want to do.
I mean, if we had to put a number on them, I know some people, and I've met them, who go to college. They're now doctors. Go to college. They're lawyers. They're but what are the majority? The majority can't be all doctors and lawyers, and majority are going to school. They're fucking off for the first 4 years, and then they're I think I'm gonna figure maybe I'll do this or.
And the thing that bothers me is, I hate that I have friends, and I love them dearly. Don't get me wrong, and they've some of them eventually settled on the correct education for the career path they chose in life. I've got a friend who, after going through several different degree programs, finally settled on that she wanted to be an advisor, a counselor. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's social sciences and whatnot. But in that decision making process, one, she racked up an enormous amount of debt at school, and then two, even if she had figured that out right away, not that this should be the only motivating factor or anything, but it's you invested all that time and all that money into getting a degree that gets you a job that doesn't make enough money to actually pay back all the money that you owe.
Right.
And I'm well, I didn't go to a 4-year college or 8 or whatever your given investment may be. Mm-hmm. I was working that whole time, and it's at the end of the day, if you're going to get a job that makes you a 6-figure salary or something like that, yeah, maybe it's worth investing all that money into getting that education.
Well, how about the whole fact that you have to go from Garrity, you have your associates, right? You went to a junior college, got your associates. What the fuck does that even mean?
I mean, he's got a piece of paper that says he's got an associate's degree.
Well, what does that mean? You learned what? More history and more math?
So in college, the first 2 years are basically just basic classes.
Right. But then extension of high school classes.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, then I transferred to Northeastern. And then
you learned what you wanted to be.
Yeah, and then I got a degree.
Why can't it be reversed? Why can't you be let me start out and I'm going to get into finance. Give me all the finance classes. Why do I got to take? So I went to a bunch of different community colleges because I wanted to do computers. And I knew I wanted computers, but they're like, oh, okay, well, before you take that, you got to do this, this. I'm like, why? Can't I just take what I fucking want to learn? Why I got to take a math class and a reading and a history? Why do I gotta do all these fucking
come on.
classes?
What do you do in your spare time? You teach jiu-jitsu. You don't teach them barambolos on day one. You're teaching them the foundation.
Yeah.
Right? You got to teach them those monoscapes.
I think the idea about it is you start out, it's just like me, jiu-jitsu is a good comparison. You start out and you're teaching the guy more breadth of knowledge. You need to know, like everyone needs to know the basics of close guard, half guard, like all like the takedowns. And then once they get past blue belt, more purple belt, now it's more depth of knowledge. Like, okay, your personality and body type fits this style of game. And now like, oh, this is your style of game. Now know everything about the back. You really like getting this position. It works for you. It's good for your body. Now you're going to learn all the in and outs and you're really going to get like a specialized knowledge in this.
Did you really seriously just compare back control to finance degrees? Is that what's going on here?
No, all I'm saying is that I think you should be able to, like, people get into their masters after or their bachelors. That's when they start learning like their core, like what they're going to do for the rest of it. All I'm saying is that first 2 years seems to be a little bit of a money grab. Right?
I did it a roundabout way though too, because like I didn't take any of my required courses right off the bat.
You know, I was testing out of classes.
Yeah, well, I did too.
You had to do that because you're like, well, you got to take this. I'm like, dude, I know
no, I don't want to take this.
Why I got to fucking? But you still had to pay to get out of that.
Right. Yeah.
Still a fucking money grab.
I mean, it is a business.
It is a business.
That.
I mean, did it teach me? Well, once I got into learning what I wanted to learn, then it was trying to find the teachers to teach it to me.
Right.
That's even that's huge. I went to a class that said, I can't get taught by this person. This guy is just literally reading a book. Right. I don't want someone to read a book to me. I want them to explain.
Yeah, I can read my own damn book.
I can read my own book.
Death by PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah. It's fucking the worst. It's like that, right? It's terrible. You have no choice. And when it comes like if you went to where?
Went to Northeastern.
And you're like, if you're stuck with that, is there other options to get out of that?
So like my last semester, I had taken I needed an elective class, and so I ended up taking like real estate finance, which I liked, but it was a once a week class on Friday nights from like 7 to 9:45 at night, and the guys and the way he would teach and the way. And because this guy worked like a full-time job during the week, and he was a part-time professor. Yeah. It was the only time they were having this elective. I just needed it to graduate, so I take it. And it was a packed class because like kind of everyone was in the same boat. And I remember we were having it like our midterm exam like this coming Friday, and I emailed this guy a question on like Tuesday about like a practice problem from the like the practice like exam he gave us, and he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. We're gonna review the first half." And I emailed him back, and I'm like, "So you expect me to learn and be able to practice this in the beginning, like maybe 10, 15 minutes before you give me an exam on this?"
Right. I
was like, "Are you kidding?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like some of these. But then, like, I just needed to graduate, so I just kind of like
just went with it.
So what I did is I made sure I knew everything else on it. So it's like if I get this one wrong, hopefully I could like still like,
compensate.
It'll be like balance out. I get hopefully I get like a B on this exam. And
I feel like we're doing so much. Maybe just because I'm trying to be more observant as I get older, but I think we're just as a society doing so much of the same old bullshit. It just never ends. It's so crazy. Agreed. I was driving the other day and I'm stuck in traffic on 290 and I'm looking up at helicopters. I'm like, that's odd. Like
traffic
helicopter. I'm like, that's still a thing. Like,
yeah, of course it is.
People get in a helicopter, go up there and they do the traffic. Like we have fucking
drones.
Like, why the fuck are we wasting all that gas on fucking helicopters still? Right. Like that should be done. Everyone should be like, oh, we have drones with cameras.
Right now, there's a bunch of people listening to this like, shut the hell up. So, this is a very good paying job.
I'm sure it is, but it seems like it's a little ridiculous. Like, why are we fucking putting helicopters in the fucking air?
Here's the worst thing. Like, I have in the past been like, man, I'm stuck in traffic. I had best turn on the radio to a news station to find out if there's an accident or something. Right. I don't need that anymore. No. I pull out my cell phone. I look. There's a little marker on Google Maps that there's a traffic incident, 5 miles ahead or whatever. Right. I'm like, oh, okay. Waze, get me an alternate route.
Exactly. Exactly. I find it so odd that everyone's like, oh, we're put on Channel 5 News and they've got the weather guy and who the fuck? Why do we need these jobs still? It seems utterly ridiculous.
I want to give it maybe like 30 to 40 more years.
Yeah, right.
When the next generation dies out, that's what you're saying?
I really think so.
My dad still insists on having a landline phone in the house. Like,
for what purpose?
I was like, Dad, when's the last time someone called you on that phone?
He's like, what if I need my faxes?
It wasn't a telemarker and you wanted to talk to them.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if shit ever hits the fan, cell phones aren't working. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have a bigger problem than calling someone on the fucking landline.
Yeah. I actually do have a landline just for emergency purposes with my kid. That's the main thing. And also,
Wait, what would the emergency purpose be? That you wouldn't have your cell phones with you?
he doesn't have a cell phone yet.
Oh,
he
doesn't.
He's a younger.
Oh, he's home alone.
Yeah. Although the kid also, might I add, knows how to like Snap, not Snapchat. Jesus, wrong. Skype. so you'd be like, Grandma, come pick me up. You know, the house is on fire. I'm going outside now. We still got Wi-Fi. You know?
I would hope he would just leave the house if it was on fire.
Just run the house like to a neighbor or something.
Of course. But yeah, no, like it's just really there for emergencies, and because like Xfinity gave it to me in a package deal.
They do that.
Yeah.
They package those deals
Yeah,
up.
so
But
that's really the main reason.
So I was at a client and I'm removing their my clients ask me for advice, since they think everything that's related to internet I should know on all. But she's like, here's my Comcast bill. What do I need? I'm like,
none of this.
I go, you need internet. That's it. And she's paying she's paying for a modem. She's paying for, all these add-on features. I'm like, you don't need it. All you need is high-speed internet. Right. She's like, well, what about my TV? I go, you use Amazon Fire Stick. But don't I need Comcast? Don't I need a TV package for that? No, you have the Fire Stick.
I mean,
they have no idea.
It's a sales thing. You know,
they have no idea what they have.
Literally, people. I mean, like some of the people that I work with, like I feel I'm one of the few and far between when it comes to being like a decent, genuine person in the sales industry, right? And like, I mean, just some of the things that I see people do to just pad their pockets. I'm like, man, you guys are like, how the fuck do you guys sleep at night? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, that's what
that ain't me. You know what I mean?
I worked sales for a fairly long time, but I refused to ever work commission sales because I'm like, man, I know I'm going to do some stuff that I'm going to regret. Right. If my paycheck is based on how much crap I can sell somebody who doesn't need it.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're not selling, they'd be like, if you're not producing, we're letting you go.
Right. You get out of here. Yeah. It's like, no. Like, really, she only needed that entry level computer. She didn't need any other shit you wanted to sell her. Right. So. Yeah,
it's unfortunate. I mean, I was able to, tell her basically just high speed internet. That's all you need. We replaced her modem. And now, what's so interesting? I have no modem here because I refuse to pay the $15 a month they rent you the modem for Comcast.
Right.
But I'm now implementing a new security thing for my clients.
Okay.
And I need a static IP address for that.
Okay.
Comcast. So I call Comcast. I said I need a static IP. They're like, oh, okay, no problem. That's like $20 a month. I'm like, all right, static IP. Yeah. They're like, oh. We see you don't have our modem. I'm like, no, I have my own. Well, we can only give you static IPs if you rent our modem. I'm like, are you fucking
kiss my
kidding
ass?
me? I'm like, what kind of bullshit is that? I said, why? Why does it matter what modem I have? Oh, well, that's how we. That's how
we rake people over the coals.
So now it's going to be 20 plus another 15 a month for this new thing I got to implement. So I'm like, what the fuck? I'm trying to
trying to save money,
and do something for my clients that's going to help them out. Now it's going to cost me. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I'm going to have to do it because it's something I think my clients are going to need, and I think it's going to help my business out. But it's just I hate getting nickel and dime by these companies when 100%. I know they're full of shit. Yeah. They're just so full of shit.
Indeed. So I got to change the subject here for two reasons. One, because this is nominally a jiu-jitsu podcast, and also because I'm staring at them. Why are you on crutches?
Oh, my crutches? Yeah, they're back.
Again.
They're back.
Again.
I know. So I was rolling yesterday, open mat, and
at least it's a good story.
Yeah. Oh, let me set up the story as I get to open mat, and we all start rolling, and Andre.
Where's this is
at Soul Fighters, yeah.
Okay. Oh, we got to talk about that too.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
And so Andre comes in, and he stops everyone. Okay, everyone line up. So we all line up, and he's like, does his speech about, we're all a team, be careful with each other, don't hurt each other. We had some, some blue belts hurt some white belts recently, and he's just like, listen, you guys got to take it easy. If the guy's smaller than you, weaker than you, try not to use so much strength, use your technique, does the whole speech, which is, it's good. Right. And then at the end of it, he goes, and if you're rolling with Zito, you can't hurt Zito. He's here 4 days a week. He's our professor. He's the one who teaches all you guys. Make sure you go. And he does this whole thing about me, and I'm like, I don't really know.
He just painted a target on
right,
you.
basically fucking put the red X on me.
Maneko, what are you doing here?
And so I'm rolling with everyone. I'm just having a good time, and everything's fun. And then Hafina is one of our second degree black belts. He's
Quite good.
Very, very
I've
good.
rolled with him.
So we're going at it, and we always have some good scraps, because we're similar size, and we're going back and forth. I get him with which rarely do I ever get him with anything, but I get him with a straight ankle lock that I just learned, not learned, but similar to what we learned on Thursday night, and with about 20 seconds left, and when you get someone, and it happens to everybody, if someone gets you, you're kind of like, I
Gotta get him back.
gotta get him back, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Which
get him back race.
And he's got 20 seconds left to do it, and he grabs my foot, dives for that toe hold.
I was going to ask, it was a toe hold?
Yeah, it was. I just
Shades of Paul Doe.
Yeah, shades of dives on it, and I couldn't tap. I verbally tapped, and it was too late.
Is it the same bad foot?
The same foot.
Oh, okay. So he probably. So how much of this is his aggression level versus your pansy ass foot?
I mean, for sure, my foot has been compromised since the initial injury. No doubt about that. It just, it's just one of those things. And he felt so horrible. He sat by my side, like they dragged me off the mat. He's putting the ice on my foot.
Was Maneko still there when this happened?
Yeah, he was there. He came over and yelled at both of us. He goes, "What
did I just say?"
Yeah, basically, he's like, "Zito, you gotta tap." I'm like, "I fucking tap." I verbally tap. He just yelled at both of us and kind of just told us, what
Guess
the
who's
fuck.
covering class for you?
Right. So I'm on the crutches again, and that's it. I'll be on them for a little while. That's all. Usually it was a week before,
Right.
so I'm hoping.
No knee damage or anything like that. Just the ankle or the foot.
Just the foot, just that foot. It just bruised up again on the side.
Nice.
Just tape it with like red tape, so everyone's like, stop.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you go to grab it, just
Like
stop.
my red shoe.
Yeah.
The thing is that toe hold, I never really appreciated as much.
You
as I
better
have
appreciate it now.
these last runs into with
Seriously.
it, man. It is fucking brutal. And the thing was, normally I'm very aware because it happened to me so many times in the past, but not just because of Paul Doe, but I spin out of it, and normally it works for me. But what was so interesting this time was he tucked the foot into his stomach, so he kind of roll tucked it. Sure. So it wasn't like I couldn't extend my knee, so my knee was already close to my butt when he was rolling. So I didn't have any of that. There was no distance to be
Lateral
covered.
play.
No distance to be covered. Like normally you grab the hold and you push it to the butt. Right. Well, my knee was already bent to the butt, so it was just
crank.
It's just crank,
Yeah.
and that's what made it. I couldn't push out of it because he's tucked really, really tight. Sure. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I will be definitely having some discussions with, the fundamentals class, explaining to them, why it happened, what happened, and what. Listen, we're all here to, have a good time and train jiu-jitsu. And I have no ego. I don't think I do because I get tapped all the time, and I never feel the need to get a tap back. That's just not me. If someone taps me, I'm like, great, do it again. I will put myself in that same position to see you do it again because, for one thing, I want to know how I can escape. I look for escapes, and I try to teach myself so I don't get caught in that again.
Smart.
That's just how I play. Not everyone plays the same way. Right. I like to be this sounds weird, but
I feel like I have certain people that I like, like certain people that I'm competitive with that I'll do that
Right.
with.
Yeah.
100%.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's definitely specific.
Yeah,
specific
there's
rules.
things that I just like. Afina gets, if he normally gives me with this really good choke, and he gets it to me all the time. So I really try for him to. I know what when he's setting it up, and I'm like, okay, how can I
counter this now?
How can I counter?
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And I did that in our roll, and then I was able to come under him, elevate him, and go for the straight ankle lock. So I came into like an ashi control. Okay. And that's how I was able to secure that straight ankle lock. And then, we went on from there. But that's how I roll. Not everyone does that. I know I've tapped guys out and then they come at me hard. And I don't know. All I'm saying is that if you're that type of person, know that maybe the guy's not expecting you to come back hard. You know, I wasn't expecting him for I was playing guard. My feet were up for sure.
How bad is the ankle before? Like, has it just always been just kind of bum foot?
Well, I got injured, a year and 2 months ago?
It's over a year.
Over a year.
Okay.
So it's not like it's been fine.
Sure.
It's just
retweaked it.
Just retweaked it. Yeah.
I mean, I literally got toe holded by one of my Seraphin teammates in competition, like really bad.
Yeah.
Popped it. And then I want to say maybe like 3 competitions after that, like same foot,
Same
got
injury.
toe holded every single time. You know what I mean? And
Have you considered not leaving that foot out there dangling?
I learned that the hard way, man. I really did. No, it was really funny, actually. I remember specifically I had a what competition was it? It was like Sub Hunter something. Sub Hunter Pro.
Sub Hunter Pro. Probably.
They did like a bracket, like one of the cash bracket style, sub only, and I got the pleasure of matching up with TJ, or not TJ, what am I, PJ, and that's
from Redsvik.
Yes, sir. And he caught me in like a nice little slick Estima. And literally like 2 seconds right before he catches me in the Estima, you hear Jeff Seraphin in the back. He's like, John, watch your foot. Watch your foot. Yeah. And it's definitely like a hole in my game that I had to, that I definitely had to,
sure.
Like I was exposed like all the time. It was literally my left foot. Always, I play bottom half guard all the time. People would jump over for that thing.
Yeah.
If I was like loose with my knee shield, you know what I mean? Or, a lot of times I would like force a leg entanglement, and if I would try to go for an ashi, I would literally like leave that leg out instead of tucking it in between the legs.
Sure.
Little stupid mistakes that I would make, but it's like if you get toe holded like over and over and over, you know what I mean? But you like Avi was saying, you learned that lesson the hard way, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. By the way, welcome to brown belt.
Yeah. Thanks.
Congrats.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I've definitely ate a lot of foot locks because, like early on, like probably around blue belt, I really started doing a lot more like triangles. Mm-hmm. So like naturally in that progression, when you're learning to be aggressive with them, you're naturally, as you're going for the submission, like in that kind of growth process, if you're choosing to be kind of that type of player, you're going to leave your feet out. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I've definitely ate a lot of foot locks, just being aggressive, and just like at first it's kind of like, I feel like I'm like, well, I need to still be putting the work in. Like you kind of like learn like the defensive, how to get out of things, and then also just when to tap. Also as like kind of part of the learning process. And then as you get older, you kind of roll like you be aggressive, but also being able to hide your foot or whatever. It still happens.
True. Yeah, it's hard. I play a lot of open guard. That's a lot of my feet are out there, and you're gonna
it carries a lot of risk.
You're gonna got a good grip on that toe, and you roll for it. You can't tap fast enough.
So I try to get the close guard. Close guard as soon as possible.
Right.
Inside position on the feet, closed guards, definitely all protect you. Like butterfly. Butterfly isn't like really like a normal open guard, like it's its own sort of subcategory because your feet are relatively well hidden, a little harder to attack than say like a foot on the hip or a De La Hiva.
Because if you're doing right, you should be dominating the inside position.
Right. But I mean, again, there's levels and details here. Mm-hmm. Getting back to the whole idea of get them back.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the key thing there is if I feel like I was screwing around and they caught me because I was being too playful or whatever, I usually up the intensity like a lot and see what happens from there. Like it's not just like I got to get them back to even the score. It's like they could clearly do well against me when I'm
goofy.
Yeah, goofing off. Right. Yeah. Now it's time to play my A game, put some pressure, bring some intensity, and see what happens there. And then obviously, if they're still catching me, it's like okay, like we're on that level. We can fight at this level now for the rest of this roll.
Right. Okay.
But yeah,
if you start taking off a little too much, then you probably
if I'm going head to head with somebody like right from the beginning, and it's like a good exchange, and they catch me, I'm just like, man, that was great. Let's keep going. Let's keep it right here. I'm not going to be like, okay, I was going 60 miles per hour. Let's try 1,000.
The way I look at how I roll is there's a lot of different factors, but like I believe there's like I almost have like 2 modes of training. It's like those, like you come in and you're training, you're rolling to like more learn. It's more about improvement,
right?
And then the other
working
one,
with your weak side a lot of times.
And then the other one is to win. So if I think like you're like a month or 3 weeks away from a competition, I think you should be predominantly playing your A game and trying to like just make cut off the imperfections. because also you see a lot of guys who are teachers. They have their own gym, and they're used to now they're rolling with students, and they don't want to be crushing their blue belts or whatever. So you're kind of playing like more like a give and take game, and then go for things. But in a competition, it needs to be like, no, I cannot. You can't give.
Right.
You
We're
need
not
to be
playing.
you need to be in that mode where like you're not giving an inch. You're not giving an inch. Everything's like really sharp in all your reactions. So like I feel like if you're getting close to competition, you should be now going all the matches. Like not that like you're trying to hurt anyone or trying to be unnecessarily rough, but you'd be like, no free sweeps, no free positions on someone, no free like half-ass guard retention. Like, oh, I guess I'll just work like side control. It's like, no, like if you're in a points tournament, like now you just lost points.
Right.
But then if you always do that, you're never going to add anything to your game because you're always trying to win. If you're trying to win, you're not going to use a technique you're not very confident with.
Right. No, I definitely
And then
agree.
also keep in mind like who is your training partner. It's not so much like whether you think a guy's like a bad person or something, but like how long has he been training? Did he like just got his blue belt? Like he's still kind of figuring out, or like one of my like trusted training partners would be like at 10th Planet would be Alex Kim. Like I've literally been training with him since like the day I walked in, and we have a good like I know he's not going to hurt me. Right. There's like a small like chance. There's always like a small chance I ain't doing any physical endeavor.
But yeah, just the risk of what we do.
But we've trained for a long time with each other. I know he doesn't have any bad intentions to me, so I can work positions a little further and be like, yeah, I know. Or I could work like maybe he's got me in a submission, but he's not going to crank on it, and I can try to work out like maybe like there's
he can let you work your escapes, your late game stuff.
But then again, it's like if you're doing that with like a guy who's still pretty fresh and new, I think you need to take some ownership and be like, hey, this is probably not the right person to do this with. So for me, there's a lot of factors into this like subject.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I mean, you guys know each other's game too, you know what I mean? So that obviously helps with like the confidence and the trust aspect too, you know?
Speaking of knowing each other's games, you guys actually train quite a bit together.
Not too much, but we have.
You've been in the same room.
A decent amount.
In the same room, yeah.
So you guys just had a match at Fight to Win, the last one here in Chicago not that long ago. Somebody was there live commentating, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was a great match.
I was after you said that just now. I'm thinking, I don't even know who won your match. I know it was awesome.
John won.
Yeah. But I know it could have been a coin flip at that point, right? I think you guys were both like. I think you ended up at the end.
I've watched that fight like probably like 1,000 times already.
Yeah. How do you guys see it? I mean, because you guys are both, obviously very respectful of each other. I mean, how do you guys see that fight?
There's no way I think like anyone so I lost a split the decision, but there's no way I could be like mad about like why I lost or anything, because he did get a couple initial like guard pass. He did get initial like guard pass, and then he did get a good entrance into my legs. But then it's like the match ended with me locking up a triangle.
That's what it was.
But it was it was a complete back and forth match, and it was like the referee gave it to me, and then the two side judges gave it to him, and I get both arguments. I think like I don't think either side, because even after the match, I look at John, I'm like, I don't know who won, man, but like good match. I was like,
right.
Yeah, and then.
But here's, I mean, like at the end of the day, for me, I mean, like, and I know that you kind of fight the same way. Is like, nobody finished anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's super subjective at the end of the day when there's ever going to be like a rest decision. You know
completely agree. It's like I still look at like
and with that being said, like I think that there was pretty much just like two really solid submission attempts. That triangle at the end was like the fucking butter, and then there was like the one leg entanglement position. Right. Other than that, there wasn't really too many other like super deep attempts. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And then you had the guard pass, which I ended up getting out, so I can see why they scored it for you.
So it's like positional, but again, it's like that's not really.
Well,
that's not what I was looking to fucking go there to do. You know what I mean?
Like, we're there to finish it.
Exactly.
No, I completely like the old saying. It's like if you submit him, you win. If he submits you, he wins. If no one submits each other, who really cares? Like
right.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like so. Even like I would leave the match the same. Whether I would have got the split decision or like how it is now, same feels. Like I didn't sub him. At the
end of the day, though, it was like a match like that. Like I said, I watched it like 100,000 times. You know what I mean? Like you go back and
And I want to stress real quick here, like it was a good match. Like that was definitely that was worth the rewatches that I put into it. So because I was really trying to be like, I'm going to try and score this here.
I think our last like 30 seconds of the scramble like flow put it out there. We got like 20. I think it was like something like 20,000 something views on like Instagram or something.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. But yeah, like and then also it is a 6-minute match. That's pretty like that's a quick jiu-jitsu like especially like
Usually
on no points like
8 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, like a 6-minute match is like something.
They do that based off your rank, right?
But it's like everyone up until like black belt.
Yeah, I think black gets 10, right?
Yeah, or 8. I think they make it 8. Maybe if they have like a fight to win title,
maybe titles are 10.
You get like 10.
Right.
But everything else is like a 6-minute match because they try to keep because it's a big card.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big card. Yeah, no.
So it was like, could we have 3-minute matches actually? With
Some of those should have been
Just
3
sprinting
minutes.
at each other the whole
So
time.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of those there was a couple that I was like, God, is this thing over yet? I don't even know what to say anymore.
Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm so glad that was only 6 minutes, and some was like, fuck, man, why is it only 6 minutes?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, like that. Seth's not going to listen to me, but that would actually be kind of a cool rule. If it was like a fire match and it's going to the judges' cards, like we should be able to be like 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes.
Let them go. Let them go.
Yeah. My first match on Fight to Win, they like fucked up the clock, so I think I got like an added like minute onto my match. So the clock stopped and we were going. And it was
That's a nightmare. I remember that. You're just exhausted. You're like, why is this time? Is that thing not moving?
I'm in purgatory. This is what hell feels like.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but no, that's good. I mean, Fight to Win's been doing some really good shows.
Well, I honestly think that like they really do. I mean, Seth and his guys they really do the best job. You know what I mean? Like I really haven't seen too much. I mean, I don't want to say I haven't really seen any lack of professionalism. Like I haven't seen any just lack of quality. I mean,
The only thing I
while,
think that they need to step it up because it's been a while.
Yeah,
I think replaying the submission. I think that part of it needs to.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah, because
and then
some people don't know what happened, and you just and he raises his hand, you're like, well, what was it? It's all,
No, you're
and you have
absolutely
no slow motion, no.
So do you want like a projector screen to replay what just happened?
Some sort of recall.
They should have a camera angle on the submission. They should have cameras all around, just like the UFC.
I mean, they're only doing cross angles on the
If
cameras.
I'm not mistaken, they
Right.
did it on the stream.
Yeah,
they would do it for the
They
submission.
do it on the flow stream, but maybe you're talking about with people when you're there.
Yeah,
live.
Obviously, yeah,
live
right,
on
right.
the whatever the hell they call the Trinitron, the Jumbotron, whatever the hell the damn thing's
you
called.
you ever go to the UFC event and then someone kicks someone in the nuts and then they replay it on screen. Everyone, the whole crowd goes,
They get to see what
They
happens,
get to see what
right.
happened.
It doesn't matter. I go to a UFC event. I'm staring at that damn monitor the whole time. Anyhow,
100%.
I agree though. I think Fight to Win they do the best professional show
production
I do
values
air quotes because no one's making a living on the undercard off these shows,
right, for sure.
But I think they do definitely do the best. First, being on flow is a big huge plus.
Yeah.
And then
that takes care of a lot of back end things that they would otherwise have to worry about too.
Sure. Yeah, being on flow is a big thing.
Right.
I like how they handle the day before weigh-ins. They give people an opportunity to make money by selling tickets. They do a lot right, and I mean, there's never going to be a perfect jiu-jitsu submission grappling rule set.
Right.
But I think the 3 judges at the end, if it doesn't go to submission, is the best way because if you do have point, because then when you have the visual points, then are we doing advantages? What is a point?
Right.
And then I also think it's kind of silly that valid submission attempts are worth less than a guard pass. I've always thought that was is a silly thing with jiu-jitsu.
100%.
And then Kasai has the 1 point for a good good submission
attempt. Yeah,
but it's I still think it's not enough. So I do the judges, even though the judges can be subjective. There's always an opportunity for a bad judge call, but I still prefer just do a set amount of time. If it goes the distance, we'll have these three judges give their decision, and you just live with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes without saying, as soon as there's judges involved, at some point there's going to be a bad judge's call. One guy wasn't paying attention, one guy scored things wildly differently than the other guy. Stuff like that's going to happen.
But one thing I think the judges for that event, I think they should be on all sides, not just on the one side.
Agreed.
And then I don't think they need to come up on the stage and do the flags. I think there should be a scorecard. Have them score the card. The guy tells up, and the guy
The announcer comes out and just reads
I
it.
will say that there is some. I mean, it is
I kind of like the aesthetic of the flags.
100%.
I have no
know.
problem with
Like,
the flags.
for-
No
I-
problem.
as-
Are you just complaining because you're like, it takes too long? Is that?
I have
He's
no,
just getting bored
I have
of
no
it.
problem with that. I think the flags are fine.
I think
that's
it's
an issue.
it's a nice like
Yeah.
even for the fighters, you know what I mean? Because like honestly,
But then there's no tallying. Like I don't see those judges like. There's no criteria.
Well, because,
like,
I mean,
like a
they're-
scorecard.
Right.
Then there's no fuckery going on.
But, like,
Because everyone
when he
knows
was-
that this guy's on that side of the room.
Okay,
He's on
but
that
as
side of the
soon,
room.
as soon as we have points posted, are you saying only reveal the score afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, never mind. I was going to say, as soon as we have points posted,
No,
now we have
no
guys
points.
playing
No,
to
I'm
points.
just saying
With the-
guard pass one. Okay, he's got guard pass.
Well,
so I
no,
saw a
'cause it
guard
doesn't
pass.
score like that.
I'm just saying, if whatever the criteria, Fight to Win decides to do it. If it's a
Right.
10-point system, how boxing does
But
it or
here's the
UFC.
thing: is that if they start incorporating any sort of the point system, because a huge part of the thing that Fight to Win likes to promote is the fact that it is specifically a submission only tournament. So when
Right.
you start incorporating those points, you're going to have guys that come in and fight a point style fight, right? And I don't mean necessarily just sit there and like try to take down and hold you down kind of situation, but like for that matter, like if somebody's trying to pass your guard, you might how often
You're going to defend way differently
Exactly, right. How
when you have
often
to
do you-
prevent
Yeah.
dominant points from being put on the
100%.
scoreboard versus how you're going to defend
If
if,
you
your
watch-
only concern is being submitted or not.
Agreed. If you watch
But
any like
there's-
high level submission only tournament, you'll watch guys just let them pass so that they can start creating openings that they, you know what I mean?
100% agree. But then you have those attempts because, like Seth would say, we want to see submissions, we want to see a submission attempts, and everyone's just throwing up these, Hail
Not
Mary
every-
submissions.
The judge
And-
still has some discretion as to what he considers because it is scored again. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the way I've seen it's not just like you threw up a shitty armbar attempt. It's like was that legit an
No,
attempt?
they definitely say like it has to be a threatening.
It's a quality over quantity thing.
right.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So like you could throw
So
up,
those can all be scored. With the
Scored,
judges,
air quotes on scored.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
judges are obviously looking at something.
Right.
What are they looking at? That could be easily written down, right?
I mean,
One
Seth
for this,
explains
one
it
for
in the
that.
rules
There has
meeting.
Yeah.
been some
Exactly.
times in the past where I've seen the Fight to Win judges make some like absolute asinine calls. Like the,
Ridiculous
the one
calls.
the card before the one that we were on was one where a couple of my teammates, Blake was on there, Blake Classman, Jeff Serafin was on there as well, and then
remember
Brandon Batchelor. The three of them were on there. Jeff lost by decision, and
That
it
was really bad.
It was one of the most
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Brandon lost by
calls.
decision too.
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, Jeff was the only one who actually went for submissions in the whole match.
The
so it's
whole
like
match. And the guy basically like like in hindsight, the only thing that I remember is the guy basically kind of like stood him up in his guard and slammed him down. You know what I mean? And it was like, okay, that's great. Jeff's been losing a lot of weight. He's not that heavy anymore.
I think
He's
the only thing I could think of is that maybe the refs for that particular show maybe
Didn't
the
get the
promotion
memo.
didn't get like, hey, we're not judging that. This is what I need. We want you to be a judge for the show, but you're judging under your eyes with this criteria in
Right,
mind.
exactly. The
As long-
criteria. Listen,
Yeah.
when you watch a UFC event, what is the thing they go over? Because for the layman people who don't understand what they're watching on the UFC, they explain this is a X amount of 10-point system. You get octagon control. Da da da. They riddle
Right.
up. They say you when you're watching the event because not everyone who's watching jiu-jitsu, maybe they are, but is going to be does jiu-jitsu. Maybe they just like and they want to know how this event is being scored. Fight to Win's a little on the
I mean, if
gray
we-
scout because everyone's do they score it by that? Why did he win by that? Yeah, a fight to win. We get that.
I
Everyone's
think-
fighting to win. No one's fighting to lose.
Well, I just think
we
that just
understand
needs
that.
some more time to develop. I mean, like
Yeah.
the sport is still pretty young. You know what I mean? To some degree.
All I'm saying is that Fight to Win's been around for
while.
150. How many?
Over 150 shows
Over
now.
150 shows.
Yeah,
and
150 was Hawaii, just
Something,
They-
right?
last
they,
week,
they keep
wasn't it?
like every single time I go to a new one, it's
slightly different.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they're
I love what they're doing. I just want it to grow more, and I think the only way you're going to grow more, I feel, is if you kind of explain how these people are fighting to
For
win.
for the more casuals, yeah.
they explain to us who compete on this
Well,
stage.
that's like a kind of almost like a lot of responsibility, like almost like revolutionizing jiu-jitsu to the mainstream. Essentially, I mean, it's not like there isn't more mainstream jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, there's there's obviously like a lot of people that will come to these just to kind of support their friends and support.
Right.
They
Friend
don't
and
have
family,
a single idea what the hell's going
Right.
on. You know?
Yeah,
So,
but okay. So a couple of things.
I've watched a lot of jiu-jitsu events, Kasai, and I'm like,
Yeah, I watched
sometimes
them
I
all,
don't know
yeah.
what the fuck is going on. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know what these people are scoring.
I have to read the rules to make sure that I understand what's going on, and then
Exactly.
sometimes
It's
I'm like,
utterly
what the fuck are
ridiculous.
they
You're
thinking?
still
That's a
kinda
topic I have a lot to
confused,
say
yeah.
about.
It's utterly ridiculous that there's so many events, and it's great. I'm glad there's so many events, but for me, it's like I can't watch it. 'Cause I don't know what the fuck. How are these guys winning? I don't even
Chael
know.
Sonnen recently
Oh God, this.
released a video on his like YouTube channel talking about how the hybrid rules match Gordon Ryan is going to have a Bo Nickel. You know what Bo Nickel is?
I don't.
He has no clue.
Bo Nickel is probably one of the best. Had one of the best like collegiate wrestling careers at Penn State. He was like the Hodge winner, which is like the best wrestler in the country. He's now on an international level, and him and Gordon are going to have a grappling match that's Gordon can't pull guard, he can't do leg locks, and there is points, and he's allowed to do upper body submissions. And Chael's point about this is like, yeah, it's cool that we're doing this kind of crossover, like two great athletes that are going to compete against each other. Right. But he's like, this is a clear example of why while grappling will never be on ESPN, because we can't keep changing the rules for every single match. We need to have a decimate rule. It's like either Bo's doing some jiu-jitsu match with Gordon or Gordon's going to wrestle him. We can't keep doing these hybrid rules because it's too confusing, and even diehard fans
Have a hard time keeping track.
And
Right.
I used to kind of like different grappling events and like different rule sets, because I feel like if you compete in a lot of them, it will make you more well-rounded. But after so I listened to him, and I was like thinking about it, and I really agree with him. I think we need to have more like a uniform rules, a rule set. And there's just so many different, like Kasai's got their no-gi like rule set that's kind of like based from, it has like the foundation of the IBJJF like no-gi system with reaping and heel hooks allowed. So it's like there's like the IBJJF, and then there's like the knockoff Kasai. Then you have EBI, which is way different. Then you have ADCC, and you know what? And I tend to agree with them. I think a uniform, and then you have like the Fight to Win, who does like submission only with judges.
Right.
And I think it is a lot, and I think it is holding the sport
Fight to Win
back.
is the closest to what we can get
Yeah, I
was
to the
gonna ask,
UFC.
Fight to Win is still my
closest
favorite.
to the UFC, closest to what the UFC is doing, and Bellator and all those other organizations. But
So-
it just seems like they don't want to be that, and I'm like, fuck it, steal their fucking judges, steal their fucking.
Well, I don't want a 10-point must system.
No.
I'm not
That's too
saying you need a
complicated.
10-point must system. All
So-
I'm saying
so
is you
let-
need some type of system other than Fight to Win.
let me ask you this: then, out of like the three of Fight to Win, EBI, and what else?
Kasai.
Or
Well, are we talking only submission
no,
only?
like ADCC? I'm just saying like rule sets in general,
Well,
right? So,
I mean, I'm going to take ADCC. Like,
I like ADCC.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of ADCC.
Of course you're not. You don't like wrestling.
Right.
It's not that fun.
100%.
Right.
No, I definitely like ADCC's rule set. And Fight to Win a lot. I think that
Yeah.
an EBI rule set is very interesting and it's very cool. But then at the same time, you have guys that are almost playing towards that game where they're very, very good in the overtime.
Right, no,
rounds,
there's-
or, you know what I mean. And
I think the problem is that jiu-jitsu is so different than MMA. It's so different, and sometimes in my head, I wish it wasn't so different. Like I think about,
And yet, no support for combat jiu-jitsu whatsoever from
no
Anthony Cito.
support,
Zero
Yeah,
support.
Sorry, no, I do. I don't dislike combat jiu-jitsu.
I was teasing.
But I'm just saying, in my head, I look at the UFC, and I follow UFC since '93, and
Before I was born.
right. Oh, God.
Shit, Zito, you old.
God damn it.
that is it, right?
Shots fired.
So, and I think about the UFC and how far they've come, and I look at jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu's come very far, and I just wish there's some way. There's just some way to just define jiu-jitsu.
So we got a
like
couple-
you can't define MMA.
We got a couple of problems there. Okay. So first and foremost, and like we were all just basically saying like, oh, it's cool that flow, flow's such a great. Flow is actually a big problem for growing jiu-jitsu because flow is like insiders stuff. Like my mother is never going to subscribe to flow
Yeah,
grappling
Right.
ever. Like the only way she's going to watch one of my matches on Flow is if I come over and set it up on her Roku, and stream it to her television.
Flow is what Spike TV was for the UFC.
Kinda, yeah.
It was kind of like a gateway. It took them a step, but then there was a point where the UFC is like, we are now bigger than Spike, and now we're going to go to Fox, and they eventually went to ESPN.
And now that it's on ESPN, I'd say that's probably about the pinnacle,
the peak.
Yeah,
Flow is this. Yeah, so like Flow is the Spike TV for what Jiu-Jitsu is right now.
So then where would it go next?
Man, I don't know where it can go next because of the other problems with it.
Sure.
Okay? Because to get it all, and like I'm not totally bagging on Flow here. Obviously, it's a good distribution network, and they're taking care of a lot of back-end issues. I just, we had Kaplan on, and we just did his first show in New York this last weekend, and he's distributing that through like Vimeo, and that's working. But like, I don't know how much easier it would have been back end to have like a crew there of professional guys.
Why is he doing Vimeo as opposed to just YouTube?
Just the way that you can set up payment options and things like that.
Oh, you have to pay for
things.
it. Oh, I see.
Yeah, sorry.
I see.
We'll get into that. Sorry.
Fix this so it's like that. Because then you start projecting out and it gets into ours.
I have an answer to like where it should go next.
Okay, let's get there in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying necessarily that Vimeo is the answer. It's an option, obviously, because it's a wide distribution network that everyone has access to. But obviously, Flow is doing advertisement for what they're doing.
Yeah.
Flow is providing the streaming service. They're setting up the cameras and everything. So like they're providing a lot of back end service, but it's behind a paywall that not everyone has access to and won't necessarily see. It's awesome for us because we're in the community that does see it and everyone knows about it. Well, maybe not everyone, but like if you don't have somebody at your academy that has a Flow grappling account, like I find that shocking at this day and age. But
mine just renewed last week.
But you're not necessarily going to be in a situation where like everyone at your gym has one at that point.
I renews every like beginning of September for ADCs.
That's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
Nice. So it has to progress the sport. In terms of distribution, we have to get off of the idea that we're going to have this niche outlet for it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think another thing too is that Flow grappling doesn't necessarily. They're very strict with their copyright. You know what I mean?
That is another problem.
That's a tough thing. You know what I mean? So
they took down friggin' Keenan's stream after he got permission,
right? You know what I mean?
To use footage of his match from on Flow.
So you can't necessarily share outside of Flow, right? You wouldn't necessarily be able to broadcast your match or do anything like that because it's attached to they have the copyright of that broadcast.
So if you were filming your match on your iPhone at Fight to Win, you post it
100%.
At ADCC, I remember the staff, especially Seth, were promoting that like, hey, we're gonna have people looking in the crowd. So if you're filming with your phone, we're kicking you out.
That's so ridiculous.
That's definitely taken it to another level.
Yeah.
Plenty of guys have streamed or posted up clips of their matches at Fight to Win and stuff like that.
The first time for Fight to Win, I remember Seth made an announcement basically saying like, about basically making an announcement about the copyright issue, saying like, if you do this, you're pretty much going to get fined by Flow. Like if they, catch you sharing their shit.
So how?
Yeah, I don't get it because
I don't understand what's going on.
It doesn't make sense.
It's a subscription based model.
That.
So
no, 100% I get that. But where's the line drawn when it comes to like photographs? How come I can take photos all there and post it on my social media and advertise for this and do all the work for them? But then, if I post my video, no.
Right.
Because people will still buy the stream off of your nice photo. They're not going to buy the stream off of you streaming your whole match.
What I'm saying is, why is one? You can copyright photos as well, 100%.
No, but
I'm talking about
the social media effect. Okay,
I get it.
Like,
I just think it's just
if I went and did a competition and I post up my whole match. Okay, now maybe a highlight isn't a bad idea, but like a whole match. Nobody that's on my friends list looking at my social media, my thousands of followers, my hundreds of friends, whatever it may be, they're not going to spend any money on the stream.
Right.
So, but if I just post a picture going, man, awesome event, here's a picture, whether it's of my hand raised.
That type of thought process is utterly ridiculous. The fact that you think that they think that if you post a photo of your match, someone's going to go buy a $150 subscription to watch it.
No.
Ridiculous.
No. But like that's not necessarily what people are going to do. You're talking about like a yearly subscription. If I'm like, hey, friends and family, this service is $6.99. Cancel after a month. They still got your $6.99, and there's a good chance that you forget to cancel.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you're still drawing in people.
In my opinion, it's kind of goofy because anybody who is, for instance, going to be sharing a video is going to be trying to be promoting themselves,
right?
Simultaneously promoting their brand as well. This Flow Grappling or Fight to Win or whatever it is that they're sharing. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why they would just. It's kind of like a closed-minded business model, if you ask me. Like I understand the subscription aspect, but like you're taking away.
But it's you. It's your video.
100%.
Right. Well,
it's you.
100%. Hold on, but it's
so funny.
But you're like when you're sign up for the IBJJF, there's that little check box of rules that you got to read, and one of them is you have no fucking rights to your own performance because they're signed up. Your rights are signed away via Flow. So if you want to share a match, you better hope that Flow makes it public. Because that's the only way you can share it without causing problems.
It's like the same thing. You're working for a technology company, and you design an app while during your work hours, while being employed there. It is not your app. It is the company's app, which you created under their payroll
on company time.
On company time.
Yeah, so don't be developing your apps on company time, people.
And I think Flow is like very good with the Fight to Win events, especially when there's cool moments. They post a really good long Instagram.
The highlight clips are good.
Yeah, they're good. So I don't have too much issue. So like I kind of alluded to before, where I think jiu-jitsu needs to go to. I think the next step is after they build the sport more, is to be going to like the ESPN, as ESPN grows and all these networks grow their like there's eventually going to be like a Fox Sports app and ESPN. And ESPN has a lot of mainstream sport. They have
for sure.
Powerlifting
especially
shows.
on ESPN2.
There's no reason why that can't happen. But I think to get that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and there's a lot of like people need to be brought together and iron things out. So like what I think needs to happen is I think ADCC, their rules could stay the way they are, because ADCC was never designed to be a jiu-jitsu tournament. It was designed to be a submission grappling event. So that's why they have a lot of wrestling. So I look at ADCC kind of with an eyes of more of a hybrid of event that jiu-jitsu guys just happen to have done well in the history of it. What I think needs to happen for the sport to take the next step is we need to iron out a uniform gi and no gi rule set.
I agree.
And that's why that's why I think it needs to happen, and then we can still use these professional shows like a Kasai, like whatever, to
make it like a proving ground.
Yeah, sure. But everyone needs to iron out a rule set we can all follow. I still believe like in like a Fight to Win, more of like a traveling like a pro show. Can use like a submission only, but I think for general like the bigger tournaments of the year, and you have like a need to iron out a rule. So not that the IBJJF already does that, but there's they just leave a lot on a table, of course, like with no-gi, but the knee, like the leg reaping, and now allowing heel hooks, which is hilarious.
My first Fight to Win match that I had, which was in the gi, I had this guy complain about me reaping 4 times in like 60 seconds.
And they clearly say you can.
And I was like,
well, you could.
It was
originally.
like my baby fucking toe, dude. This guy was sitting here and he's like looking for, you know what I mean? Like trying to get me disqualified. I'm like, at the end of the day, I feel like, I mean, granted, I don't want to become like shamed in the jiu-jitsu community for saying that we should be able to heel hook in the gi, but I think that
I'll say it. What's wrong with you people?
That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? Like we're that's like going into a boxing gym and not learning an overhand right or something. Like it's a powerful tool in the jiu-jitsu arsenal. You know what I mean? Like there's
it makes it more powerful when you're not training. You're just like, no, we discard it.
Right.
Where I start seeing the train falling off the tracks when it comes to like leg locks and stuff like that is when you see a tournament where everyone just sits down and they just play with each other's feet. That gets a little frustrating. Right. For me, coming from a heavy leg lock initially, my first couple years in jiu-jitsu, right, and then now not as heavy leg locked, when I see like EBI or something and they literally just sit down and they just start playing with each other's feet, that gets for me, it's like, dude, just stand up and pass. Just stand up and fucking pass. that's how I just feel it's getting a little bit. Looks a little ridiculous. If I didn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, and I saw two grown men jacked sit down and start grabbing each other's feet.
I find this deeply ironic considering A, you're a guard puller, and B, you exist in a weight class that had to make special rules to prevent double guard pull bullshit.
That is
I will pull guard and go for a sweep. I will pull guard and go for submissions, triangles, arm bars. I will not pull guard and
just start
trying to go for the legs.
When you have those situations where you have two really high level leg lockers, just kind of
the leg spaghetti.
Yeah, know what I mean. When they're just tangled up. I mean, it is frustrating.
I think it's worse when it's not two high level guys. For the record, that's usually when it's the worst.
You're absolutely right. That is definitely brutal. But what I will say though is that. A lot of the times, these super high level guys always like to choose the path of least resistance, right? You know what I mean? And I think that at the end of the day, if you're going to be trying to who was it that we were watching recently? Like if you try to pass somebody who's got like just an insane guard, you know what I mean? You're going to be burning so much energy, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, like for instance, like in the match with me and Matt, like I burned. Like in hindsight, way too much energy trying to pass this guard. Like it was.
He's got an annoying guard.
He's got a really fucking annoying guard. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Like and
thank you.
Thank you.
It was one of those things where like I was like
I get that a lot actually.
I was throwing my best passing attempts at him like over and over and over and over, and like by the time I got to there was one point where I got to side control and I held it for like 3 fucking seconds. And I was like, that was just a waste of time and energy. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, plus let's establish in that rule set it was kind of a literal waste. Because
I didn't get anything out of it.
You didn't get anything out of it. Yeah, so maybe a judge looked at that and was like, I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind as positive action,
right?
You know, but above and beyond that, you didn't accomplish a submission. You didn't really wear him down very much.
By no means did I really even establish any sort of a dominant position. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know, if I did pass, it wasn't for long. With that being said. Like I said, you know, like if you get a guy that's really, really good at like, you know, like a guy like Wagner Rocha or somebody like, obviously like a Gordon Ryan or somebody like that, but like somebody who's really, really good at smashing you on top and that's good at the leg attacks in the back and stuff like that, you know, I mean, I think that's kind of like the best well-rounded jiu-jitsu game. Like you have to be able to smash on top, you have to be able to take the back, and you have to be able to, you know, rip somebody's legs off. You know,
I just think that, you know, if you're trying.
But at this, like if you're trying, a good guy, you know what I mean, from bottom is really hard to keep down. You know what I mean? Like,
right? We've all seen the matches where a guy, if they both sit down and they start just playing with each other, and that's 10 minutes. And it's like, why doesn't one of them just get up?
Do you guys see that
one
Craig Jones match? He I can't remember who it was against. That one,
Pajares, wasn't it?
No. It was a super slick heel hook entry in like 10 or 15 seconds.
Either Tex Johnson or Andy Burke on EBI.
I think it was. I don't think it was Tex.
He had several on EBI.
Yeah, that EBI
were like
absolutely
30 seconds or less.
Yeah,
and it was just one of the most beautiful entries, and it was based off of literally two guys. You know what I mean? And he just caught him right.
You're thinking of either his Andy Burke match or Tex Johnson.
I'm pretty sure it was Andy Burke because I don't think it was Tex. But regardless, it was. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where like it does obviously play off at the super high level.
Yeah. And I get it for the matches that these guys are doing, these 16-man brackets, these 6-man tournaments. You don't want to burn yourself out trying to pass someone's guard for like Javi said for no
actual gain.
No actual gain. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if I could just sit back and just crank on a leg and get a tap in 30 seconds or less, of course I got to fight 3 more people. Right. You know, I get it, but for someone who's watching, but it looks a little ridiculous.
Anything that ends up in a neutral battle is boring as shit for the audience. Like if you get 2 guys tied up circling, no actual, like even if they're attempting, but no actual takedowns happen, that's pretty fucking boring. If you got guys that are, you know, doing leg entanglements and no one's getting anywhere, that's pretty boring. And if you got a guy sitting on his ass and refusing to come up as the other guy's like standing passing him, like that's also boring. Like there's all these situations that are just
a boring sport, man.
Well, that's the problem. See, here's the thing, and this is getting into like the discussion of rules. Like all grappling sports go through this eventually as they become mainstream. Sure. Air quotes on mainstream there.
Yeah.
But for the sport to succeed on like a commercial level where people want to pay money to see it happen, it's got to be exciting, and they got to be able to understand it. Okay?
Bocce ball. That's where we're going.
God, I hope not.
But it's fun.
In the gi?
You ever play in the gi, bocce in the gi.
The gi does not automatically make things better, despite what Paul Doe believes.
No, but going back to how we talked about why John and I like the fight to win rule set. If let's say we do have a match where one guy pulled guard and the other guy just trying to pass, is that bottom guy doesn't get any doesn't really get any like action going or really any threat, and the guy clearly trying to pass and is being the aggressor, and that rule set, more than likely the judges, if that's all that really happened, will give him the win, so that will give an incentive. The problem with EBI is, we see EBI is really good when both guys are just going after each other.
When both guys want to win.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, though, which happens a lot, is when two guys will start grappling, one guy will start dominating maybe the pace and the setups of them and like kind of the direction of the match, and then the other guy will be like, my chances of submitting him in regulation are down.
Right.
So now I'm just going to conserve energy to overtime.
Exactly.
That's the flaw in EBI, and that's why I don't like. That's why I don't prefer that rule set, because there's always that back end where in fight to win, that guy will just simply he'll at least know in the back of his mind, he's like, well, if I think like that, I might not lose by submission, but I'm going to lose anyway.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So,
But it's hard to do in EBI like a 16-man tournament, which I think you could, but I see why people don't want to have a 16-man tournament with ref decisions being as possible.
right, especially with a lot of money on the line.
Look at recently the Spider event. There's a couple
Yeah.
there's a couple submission.
man.
There's a couple ref decisions that are like, oh god. And then because it was also a points tournament, there's a lot of guys like, I just can knock you up this points. They're going for 100K. So it's like,
100,000,
I am not getting swept. I'm just trying to win. I don't care if I'm exciting at all. I'm just trying to get that W. And that tournament sucked.
Did you guys watch the? There was the finals match between Kynan and
Rodolfo, was it Rodolfo or Marigali?
no Marigali and
Just not. It was like a lot of nothing.
it was such a dull ass match. Yeah. Like, I mean, and again, don't shame me here. And most of the time the gi matches are, you know what I mean? Like, they are definitely very boring matches a lot of the times. And Kynan is a very, very aggressive top player, and he is so goddamn good, dude. Like, I've been watching him lately, and he's a beast.
Yeah.
But there wasn't literally a single submission attempt, right? Like, he was just trying to pass the whole time. And he stayed on top. His base wasn't broken, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it was like Marigali ended up getting a couple of good, like, off balances and, like, potential, submission setups, right? So, like, at the end of the day, we're nitpicking on who the winner is, right? Like, very finely. But then at the end of the day, they have a ref's decision where it's $100,000.
Right.
That kind of wins.
I don't blame them for playing like that. No, I'm trying to get paid.
Well, no, yes, I agree, 100%, 100%. But
At 10% of that money, I'm
I am completely okay with that.
Trying to get paid, fam.
But it's just
was
a little
big
crazy
money,
to think that they have one of these situations where it's like a ref's decision to decide who essentially wins that kind of insane outcome or that insane reward. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a little while, like maybe a couple months ago, Shanji Ibera was like one of my favorite guys to ever watch.
he knows a thing or two.
I've taken a lot from his game, so I YouTube searched him a while ago, and I found this match against him and Drysdale, and it was like in the Hicks and Gracie Cup.
Yeah,
and it was a points tournament, but I really liked how they scored it. So opening match starts out. Drysdale jumps like a pulling guard. He gets a negative. He gets a -1, and then Shanji went for like an ankle lock or something, and a valid submission attempt got 3 points, and then a guard pass got 1. So it's almost like the opposite of Kasai. And when I was watching it, I'm like, man, this is like the rules and the points are promoting submissions, and that's
Right.
what I think when you go to an IBJJF. What are the points? Yeah, it's always great to win by submission, but the vast majority are won by points and
Advantages.
advantages.
Well, yeah,
And
depending on the level
When you
of
get down
right.
and when you're down on points, the chance that the guy who's winning is going to really shell up. He's not going to give. So you're going to have to get sweeps back. So now it's like I'm not even worried about sub. I'm just trying to sweep him off balance. That's what it promotes. And this rule said, I'm down on points. How do I get points back? I got to go for subs.
Exactly.
I got to go for subs.
Completely agree
And I
with
was
you.
like, so maybe. And I'm just like, man, how did this rule? And I don't know a lot about like the history of like the Hicks and Gracie Cup. I didn't do extensive research on it, but I was like, man, how did this point style not take off?
Right.
Because like now I've only saw one like a small sample size, and both Drysdale and Shanji were both like, competing to and bringing it to win. And no matter what rule set, when two guys are bringing it to win and trying to put the other guy out, those matches are always going to be very good.
Who won?
Shanji.
Nice.
I think I think he got like I think he subbed them. I don't remember how. Oh, and it was like 5-minute rounds. There was
How
like
many-
there was
three
like
rounds or
yeah,
two
it was like
rounds?
3 like 5-minute rounds. Like you went back to your corner. So it was like
Okay.
I wouldn't do that. I would just have like a 10-minute, just like would just go
Exactly.
no break. But I was like, man, I like kind of this inverse of Kasai.
I like
where,
that too. That
the
makes sense.
valid
Sure.
sub attempts get way more points than a sweep or a pass.
Yeah, and like the rules are always going to shape the way people fight. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the very nature of them. I mean,
We
unless
learned
unless,
that at ABI.
unless you're not paying attention to the rules, that does happen.
Yeah.
But another thing that like jiu-jitsu people really hate when you bring this up, but the reason why wrestling or judo or whatnot are more exciting and spectator friendly is that there's aggressive stalling calls for what those systems consider negative behavior, and there's almost none of that in most jiu-jitsu matches. Like Quintet, obviously.
Quintet is very aggressive.
Maybe too aggressive.
Like anything in life, there's
Take the foot
balance.
off the pedal, 'cause I think that's hilarious.
It's like, fully locked in armbar. Stand up, I'm bored.
Dude, you close your guard, and they're like the Japanese guy's giving you a card and rolling his arms like you just traveled in basketball.
But yeah, no. So like that's one of the things. There's a lot of situations where I don't want to say any other sport, but basically any other sport, the ref would for sure be stepping in, but like, hey, let me see some action. You're just sitting there. You're not doing anything. I need to see you guys progressing in some way, attacking in some way. And it's like, no, I'm in a dominant position and I shall stay here.
Agreed.
And again, like jiu-jitsu has very specific rules about this, because if I try to stall you out in say side control, I'm gonna get penalized. Like I can eventually get penalized into oblivion from inactivity. But if I get mount or back control, like I have infinite time. If I get you in back control at like 9 minutes and 45 seconds left in the match, I can just hold you there with my 4-point advantage for the remaining 9 minutes and 45 seconds and win that match. Doing nothing else. I don't have to attack a choke. I don't have to try to armbar you. I just hold you. Death cuddles.
I just got bad flashbacks of some like really bad reffing in like MMA fights where like I forget what her name was. It was a ref. She stood a guy up and he had mount.
Yeah, I remember who you talking about. That girl with the big ponytail.
Was it Kim Winslow? Is her name?
Yeah, something like that.
Winslow? Yeah.
Yes.
She's terrible.
Yeah.
And then like remember like the infamous like Maya Usman match where he was getting to the back and they separated him. And it's like
That's insane.
Obviously,
Yeah, she's not doing it anymore.
good ref call, bad ref call.
Terrible.
These are-
Christ.
right.
terrible.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Career alting. Like you could like this
Yeah.
guy could be a win away from a title shot and all this money, but they always get win bonuses, and you stood him up when he had mount. It's like, how dare you?
This is a good one. The first time I ever went to an IBJJF, I was like 4 or 5 months into jiu-jitsu. I was a white belt, and it was Blake Glassman and I went. I think it was like his first or second, no, probably second or third time competing at that point, and he was purple belt at the time. And he's got this dude in a fucking fully mounted triangle, and they reset him and give him 2 points.
Wait, what?
Because he ended up like going out of bounds.
Going out of bounds. Man. Yeah.
Slightly, may I add.
Right.
I'm sitting here like, dude, tell the two guys that are like tugging on each other and like pretending that they're like going to take each other down to like hold off for 30 seconds while my boy fucking finishes that goddamn triangle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Out
it's
of
just-
bounds are
it's
a whole another discussion that need to be ironed
Agreed,
out, especially at a tournament like ADCC.
Right.
Where, like,
Yeah, this year was fairly ridiculous.
Well, my biggest problem is a safety concern. How is instantly, as soon as you go out of bounds, you go from a matted area to a different standing to sometimes like a hardwood or like whatever like generic like stadium floor that is. Like I would have another 10 feet of mats, but a different color, and this would be the out of bounds. Like you look at a football field, as soon as you step out of bounds, it's not concrete right after that.
No.
It's still grass for a
Right,
good ways
right.
distance.
Right.
It's just basically a safety concern. And then two, the tables do not need to be literally
That close.
On the
Yeah.
goddamn
like
ass.
see Felipe Pena get drove into the table and hit himself right in the rib. I'm like, oh, he's done. Like he's not winning
So
this
ridiculous.
match. Like he's like there's like it's almost like this is basic like safety.
It's so
every
it's so
once in a while,
ridiculous.
you'll see like a coach at like the local tournaments have to like, like jump up from the chair and have to like get in the way of the TV and the desk and stuff like
Right.
that. You know
I mean,
what
I've absolutely seen the monitors on the table where we're keeping score get fucking wrecked. Yeah, just absolutely wrecked. Heavyweight. I've seen multiple dudes put onto the table, like just straight up slammed into the table. Right. One time it was off of a back arch, so that could have ended really badly. And sometimes like either spectators or coaches are just in the fucking line of fire because there's no out of bounds area, and you're trying to get as close to the action as you can. So you're literally on the edge of the mat as they're coming hurtling towards you.
I like that point. Putting like some extra mat for basically like out of bounds space,
but a different color. So as soon as you notice that, you treat it just like out of bounds, but it's an extra mat of the same. Because like Yuri Simone's, from watching it, like had a bad knee injury, and it looked like as he was kind of wrestling with Kynan, that he went off the mat, and it was like his first initial step onto whatever floor, and it kind of slipped, and like he ended up having knee surgery. Yeah,
right.
And it's like, so that's like a main just. I think it's just kind of like common sense. Like, hey, have another area of mat space, just different color. Treat it like out of bounds, but like it's still mats. We're still on the same playing surface. There's still not a loss of footing issue here.
Right. We haven't even gotten into the whole elevated stage with nothing around it to protect you from dying.
There was
John and I did a very good job of keeping in the center.
Not dying.
As soon as we started, I saw him kind of come forward, so I did the typical like Leandro low and like kind of circled out. And the ref actually like, keep her in the center. I gave him like a thumbs up, and I was like, yeah, you're right. You're good.
I remember one of my coaches, Scott Gave, he ended up having his like black belt debut at Grappling Games, and he was like throwing up. I mean, he's very armbar savvy, right? And he was throwing up arm bars left and right on this guy, and literally got to a point where like there was, I want to say 2 or 3 times where, and a little subjective to say the least, but the guy was kind of like pushing the out of bounds so he could reset the position. Yeah. But there was literally a time where like they completely fell off the goddamn stage while he's literally completely locked in with an armbar. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
Yeah. Like he's fully like, I don't want to say like it like if you were to jump up for like a flying armbar, like he's still got his feet, his footing, his base under him. He's still standing. Scott's hips are basically on the back of his elbow.
He's attached to him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100% attached.
Well,
Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? Like that's
at Grappling Games. There was a match of Scott Giller and another big guy, and they went completely like I think Scott went for a double, and they just went completely
ran
off the
stage.
mat.
Yeah,
that was
Christ.
Yeah. Listen, I love the aesthetic of the elevated stage
100%.
without like cage walls in the way,
that's
blocking visibility.
when you crash mats on the other ends.
I was just gonna say, and I know everyone loves being able to get like right up on the stage and everything, but one of these days somebody is going to be
really
blast doubled
Yeah.
over the first group of people and into the
That's
concrete.
one hell of a highlight or one hell of a
Or
picture.
we're gonna have another Vagna AJ scenario where he just Spartan kicks them off.
but like
But
realistically,
it's
like
AJ, so it was well done.
okay.
Ignoring the AJ hate for a minute, that one actually wasn't that bad because AJ was facing away and just took a big step off the stage, which wasn't fortunately that high.
Right.
You know, so that one truly wasn't awful. But like let's say Tim Spriggs decides to blast double through somebody and just doesn't realize how close they are to the edge.
Or for that matter, just doesn't give a shit.
Well, okay, that's an element too.
He just
Or any
wants his
guy
points.
who's as explosive as Tim Spriggs, there's always that chance, no matter how big the stage is.
Right. Without having some kind of actual barrier.
What do you think of? I know it sounds a little goofy of a question, but jiu-jitsu in a cage, like having some sort
Well,
of
they did
a wall.
have that in
Sug
Oregon.
does that, yeah.
They still around Sug.
As far as I know.
Do you
One
guys know
FC
that,
has had grappling match, like Gary Tonin and Shinya Aoki had like a grappling match inside one of the one cages at one of the one events.
That's kind of cool.
I don't mind it from a spectator perspective when there's video.
Whenever I've talked to like high level guys about it, they always like to kind of press the point that people are going to just depend on wall wrestling. You'll have.
I don't mind that.
I don't either.
Wall
I think
wrestling's
that-
a lot of fun.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's a lot of fun, and it's
Yeah.
very technical too. You know what I mean? So obviously you have to be good at it.
It's a different grappling art.
100%.
It's a different
and
grappling art.
it's also your responsibility to not get your ass put there. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I don't know. I just like there was the first super fight that I ever did was in like it was like a Thai MMA Jiu Jitsu event. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They had like a bunch of different stuff going on the card. And with that being said, obviously being a tie in an MMA fight, they just had it in the cage. So then the Jiu Jitsu matches would just be in the cage as well.
Yeah. I'm overall fine with it.
There was one point where, and the guy was a little bit bigger than me. He, drove a nice double leg right into the cage, and he used the cage, took my legs out from under me, and it was effective. You know what I mean? But by no means was he taking advantage of it. You know what I mean? He wasn't sitting there grinding me into the cage for 6 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna put your ass on the cage.
Right.
I mean,
and I think that's So, in regards to the argument of like out of bounds and that stuff like that. I mean, I personally would absolutely agree to a jiu-jitsu super fight or a jiu-jitsu match in a cage like all day, because I think that's not only at the end of the day, it's safer. You know what I mean? To an elevated stage. But
did any of you guys watch the Luke Rockhold Nicky Rod match on Polaris yesterday?
I didn't. I
have not had a chance.
It was very choppy because they were constantly going to the.
Because Nicky Rod's blasting people in and out of bounds.
So it's constant. So like Ali Geddes, like the Hodger Gracie black belt who like was reffing the match, it was just constantly like they had to reset, and it's just like it was very it was very choppy, and it was like a very like
two bowls.
It was very unorganic. Like it was.
Because of the constant resets.
Yeah, you couldn't like no one really. And then both the guys were like, Rocco kept baiting him to do a single leg, so he can do his like counters. So like he's shown in his MMA fights as counters. Like when somebody does a single, and Nicky was like just not going to do that. He just kept collar tying him. Right. It was a very just uneventful, terrible match to begin in general.
Who won? Sometimes
Nicky by decision.
I was going to say I would be surprised if Luke Rockhold won a.
So I want to get back to the whole jiu-jitsu in a cage situation here. So here's my thought, and I do want to point out that like, doing a little bit of work behind the scenes and whatnot, there are complicating factors, obviously. Okay, so the cages cost a lot more in terms of setup than say just grabbing some mats.
A couple of mats and elevated stage. Yeah.
Elevated stage versus cage. I don't know what the cost breakdown there is, mind you, but I also feel like. Generally, especially if you're tied to like XFO, for example, they've already got that.
Well, and they would still elevate it,
right.
in the cage too.
Right. Yeah, you certainly could. But I was just saying, like elevated stage, no cage versus elevated stage with cage, presumably costs more money.
Right.
I just don't know what the actual breakdown of those funds are. The other factor is like I would love a giant out of bounds area, and if we're going to be doing it like in a super fight situation, that's probably not bad. But the problem with it, of course, is we're trying to cram as many matches in one tournament a lot of times. So like when you start getting giant out of bounds spaces, now we're having less mats. The tournament will run longer. There's less going on at once. We need a bigger venue. All these things add up really quickly. Like if you go to an IBJJF, like Nogi Worlds, for example, you got like the normal size mats where everything happens. And then like black belt finals are on the extra large mat space, which does have, like more area around it, not just to fight in, but also like generally makes it safer because of the larger out of bounds area. Sure. So like those are things to consider.
What about like a hockey ring? Right, so in a hockey ring
on ice, jiu-jitsu on ice.
That would be dope.
No, but with ice skates,
super dangerous.
The crowd on a hockey rink is elevated above the rink.
Right. No, it's more like a Coliseum match. Yeah, exactly. I love the sound of it.
Yeah. So this way you don't have to have a cage, but you actually do glass, and then on the base around it, you could just do padding around it.
Then you have a situation where like fight to win. How would you be able to travel something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And above and beyond that, like again, I don't know the actual logistics, but the difference in price of like renting a high school gymnasium and putting mats down on the basketball court versus renting a hockey
and here's the
arena.
Thing, like most of the time, so when Fight to Win does the Odeum, right? Like they set up tables around, right? And then they're going to have like the bleachers for general admission, right?
Right. And oftentimes those seats are better than the floor seats.
Right, agreed.
Yeah.
and so, if there was, if you could have a consistent venue where you could have that kind of Coliseum style broadcast, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
I mean, you could
like
do that.
I was talking with the cost, you'd have to spend too much money kind of elevating the audience to be able to see, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And again, like if the area has like a hockey or basketball, obviously play the same way. Yeah. So unless we're talking about like a much bigger matted space, all that's going to do is like you're going to have a lot of unused space on the floor, I would presume.
Yeah. If you did like a super fight style,
Seth's sitting at home like they're losing me so much money with these ideas. Like none of this makes money.
No, Seth, this is good. You've got literally the best tournament around. what was I going to say? In regards to having like a super fight or some sort of a, one match kind of card, what I mean? In a basketball arena, how do you think that would play out in a sense where you obviously are going to have a lot of extra space?
Right. I mean, I would love to have a basketball court, maybe not size matted area, but like mat the whole fucking thing. Right. Set what your out of bounds is, make it really big.
Would you prefer something like that for more of like a tournament style where you obviously have a lot of competitors, or more like I said, more, like this Coliseum style of a
okay,
setup.
so I'll use this as an example that is obviously familiar to a lot of our listeners. When you go to the Chicago Open for the IBJJF,
right.
Okay, it's like that.
Sure.
You don't you're
elevated.
You're elevated.
Right.
You're looking down on all of them. Mm-hmm. If you go high enough, you can literally see every fight going on at once. Even though there's 6 to 8 on a side, I think it is. I think it's up to 16.
Yeah, that's right.
Matches could be going on at once if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And that's pretty good. Although once you get up to the true nosebleed section, you really have a hard time telling who's who.
That's what I was going to say. Like if you were to do some sort of a super fight situation, there wouldn't necessarily be
it'd be all right. I don't think
it would be okay, but.
Listen, the Romans had their gladiators. They figured it out first. Yeah, let's just follow that model.
That's right.
Yeah, just no mats.
That Chicago State that's a nice.
Well, whenever I've gone to,
it is a really good arena.
Any of the IBJJFs or
far south side.
Like honestly, I go and pick the nosebleed so I can go watch 8 fights at a time. You know what I mean? Like I love doing that. There's no doubt.
And zoom in on the one that's most interesting if I have to. Yeah.
But. Yeah, I just think that when it comes down to having a place, or excuse me, I should say having like a promotion that would travel and have a setup like that, it would be really difficult.
They'd fights they wouldn't have to have at like Chicago State,
right?
Or like
and again,
venue,
totally talking out our asses here on what the cost on that stuff 100%. Is. Like
I don't care. I don't care what it costs.
I know you don't care.
You
never care about the cost.
I think also good venues for like fight to win or grappling would be more like a theater where there's a front stage, because then it's an elevated, everyone's facing that. But then you don't have to have the like kind of like a stage, like a center stage effect where like there's only one spot, one direction where they can clearly go out of bounds.
Yeah. Right.
And if you have it at the back of the stage, then it's much manageable to not go completely off.
See, I fucking hate that EBI is, well, when they were at the Orpheum, would be on a stage, but it's not encased in any way. So you're going to run off the mat and run into hardwood anyhow. Right.
Yeah.
Like, this would be a perfect opportunity. And again,
do you guys know
that
local sub or that local submission only tournament in Iowa, Subspectrum?
Yes, yeah. Jordan
Peitzman. The last 2 or 3 events that he did, I remember he was doing kind of like a theater setup.
Yeah.
And I remember him like posting a little bit about essentially like the blueprint of how the theater was set up, and I was kind of really impressed. I think that would honestly be a really good idea in the sense of kind of what Matt was saying too, is like you only have one direction to go when it comes to falling off the stage.
Right, and that direction I would like, instead of putting people right there, I would just like crash pads or a ball pit or a tank, a tank with water. I don't care, like something that's safe, that you could literally go crashing off the stage in spectacular fashion and no one has to get hurt.
Just a giant trampoline.
But don't you think
no, because you bounce down, you bounce fly right.
Can you imagine if it was a ball pit? People would just be going for it. 100%.
I would award guys extra points for takedowns if they ball pit something.
If you could swish somebody right into the ball pit.
Yeah.
If John and I had a match where there was a ball pit on one side, I'd be like, John, I'm totally down. You could just blast double me into this ball pit.
For sure, that's going to happen.
We'll like legitimately go after each other afterwards, but like, let's at least get one ball pit entry in this.
Well, just established we cannot give bonus points to Matt Garrity for putting somebody in the ball pit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's hilarious. Again, I don't care. The stage, the front of the stage, I want protected in some way so you don't, because what's his name? They did a Polaris, I think it was, where AJ got run off the stage by Henderson, right?
Henderson,
Another
Benson Henderson.
Yeah. Ben was just kind of like chain wrestling and scrambling and went right off into the stage.
Right, nice. Right. And I mean, I would also like probably put AJ off the stage in the most damaging way possible, but again, like for the safety of the athletes, for the safety of the crowd, protect that area, and then you could theoretically build a cage or some other manner of safe blockade around the sides,
Right.
so you're not like tripping and falling into theater equipment or onto hard wood, and then put the coaches and whatnot behind whatever that barrier
You think that
is.
this wouldn't be something that they're like still discussing at this point? You know,
Well, I mean,
what
clearly it is. nobody's figured out anything that we consider perfect.
I mean, with the stage also too is you could have maybe like so there's a stage. There's only one direction where they can go off. Then you do a complete like Pride style where you just have a bunch of like
Ropes or something.
I was thinking import like a professional like Japanese like crew and just put them right there to catch anyone or like to manage the people going out. Just get like everyone who used to work at Pride to be like, we got a new job for you.
You should gotta do like what they did in Bloodsport, man. Have that like elevated, but do that in 4 sides instead of 2.
They did that. I can't remember what the karate tournament was, but they do that in this style of karate tournament where you're in like it's a bowl. Yeah, it's a bowl, and it's basically impossible to fall out because you have to like run backwards up an incline before you get to the top of the bowl. Sure. And it's still pretty good visibility, but it's not great visibility unless you're elevated above it as well. Because eventually the mats for jiu-jitsu, it's going to go to the ground, and then the lip of the bowl is going to block visibility.
I don't know it'll work because like, you know, instead of doing karate, jiu-jitsu is like a grappling sport. So you're getting like blast leveled into like a 30-degree like incline wall.
Yeah,
like it'd be kind of weird.
Yeah.
But, and then like can you get like is the bowl shape, is that like fair game or just grapple on it? Like I don't know.
We're going to take this real underground. We're going to take it Lionheart. We're going to have battles in an empty pool.
There you go.
There we go.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking Lionheart, man.
Yeah.
That was a great, fucking great. Man, John Claude had some good movies, didn't he?
Some great terrible movies.
Some great terrible
I'll be
movies.
honest, when you mention Lionheart, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I hate you in your youth.
I have no idea.
I'm gonna,
Did you guys see The Irishman on Netflix?
I did.
Not yet.
Oh
not
my
yet.
God.
Yeah.
So good.
How long
it was
is it?
so long. It was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So
However,
good.
I'm gonna slam a little bit about it.
Spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alerts.
Man,
if you
this is
haven't
pretty
seen it
early.
yet.
Are you sure? Can you
Dude,
get around this without spoilers?
It's been out for like not even a week. Like we can't do
Yeah, we
spoilers
can't-
yet.
yeah.
Whatever.
Zero.
Listen, the only problem I
Turn
had
it off,
with
people.
this,
Turn it off,
Anthony,
people.
oh my
Pause it. It's
I
not
don't-
worth. It's
I
not
haven't
worth
seen it yet. I don't want
This
your
guy-
bullshit
It's okay.
spoilers.
No.
I don't even know honestly what it's about or who's in it, but
it's okay.
It's a mob
it's
movie.
okay. Don't worry. I'm
Gary's
rooting for you.
seen it.
Your
and
opinion
Gary
doesn't
can
matter.
agree with me. Did you find it a little odd when De Niro went to that store to beat up that guy?
Wait, he's spoiling a De Niro?
Yeah,
piece
yeah,
right now? What a
yeah.
piece.
Do you,
of
do
shit.
you
a
find
giant
that
piece of
like
shit.
that whole fight
Alright, listen,
scene
I
a
don't know.
little like? A
No,
little
not
weak?
at all.
Really?
No, not
He
not
couldn't
at
even-
all.
It didn't look like he even knew how to throw a kick.
Oh, you're accusing him, De
he's
Niro
just-
of not
Robert
training
De Niro
Pride
He was
will
rules?
just a-
pay somebody to throw
At
a
that
kick for
time,
him.
his character was probably like in his like mid 40s, late 40s, maybe early 50s. Like a Zito, like 40, 50-year-old guys are not going to be doing like flying R bars like the local
I don't
guy.
disagree.
Like,
He was like, why didn't you just pull guard?
But the way it looked a little. I don't know.
no, it looked like
Did you guys ever see Gran Torino?
Yeah.
Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
There's a scene in that where like I can't remember. It's like one of like the gangster kids that's like bullying the neighbor across the street, and he just starts like he just goes across the street and knocks him in the face and just starts beating on him, and like the way that they
Yeah.
do the camera work,
Yeah.
just Clint Eastwood being like like he probably like stretch his back out, roll his shoulders out for the scene. You know what I mean? He's just sitting there,
you got to
Oh, my
also
God.
consider that like when that guy when he's trying to talk like Frank the character like De Niro's character out of it, that guy's not going to fight back to De Niro because
Right.
everyone knows he's a hitman in the
Right,
mob.
right,
They're not going
right,
to fight that guy. As soon when that guy pushed his daughter, he fucked up.
Right,
He
right.
You don't push the hitman's like daughter. Like you're kind of
Right.
an idiot. Like he's lucky he
That's
like,
the
made it out
hashtag of the
alive.
show.
Yeah, it's like you're not like, and then, so it's like that's like so it was a fight where it's like one guy's not fighting back, he's just taking an ass beating from like a middle-aged guy. That's just,
Right.
that's just what's
That's
happening.
what it would look like. Basically, yeah, that's what it looked
Yeah.
like.
For the record, me and Javi have absolutely no idea what
I
these
felt
two are
like
talking
because
about.
I'm reminding like Goodfellas, like those fight scenes in Goodfellas were
is
so
the best.
fucking like so, and then all the characters are similar from Goodfellas, right? A lot of the same faces. You
Well,
see
same
them,
actors, right? Yeah.
Same actors, and they're and you're like they're a lot older, and you're trying to get them
Yeah.
to do this
Jesus,
in The
similar thing.
Irishman?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's fucking.
How many?
super dope.
How many?
The cast is amazing.
How many years
Yeah.
ago was Goodfellas at this point?
It's gotta be like mid-90s. Yeah.
95 or 90. Or no, Casino was 97, I think.
Yeah, no, it was
So it was
before that.
93 or 94,
Classic.
maybe.
Yeah. Have you seen Goodfellas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've seen
So you know what I'm
Goodfellas,
talking
Casino,
about, right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah. but like I didn't find that fight scene at all.
You didn't
like,
find it awkward?
Well, was like.
I don't think he's arguing that it was beautiful.
Like being in like being around like my family and like we used to have a lot
Are
of
you
family.
about to say something that you're going to regret about the Hitman's daughter?
No. We just. I've been in a lot of bars since I was a kid because like we used to have like family parties. A lot of people like in my family, like close like family friends, like own bars. Yeah. So I remember as a little kid, I've seen a couple like bar fights break out, and that's how like 40-year-olds fight.
You said you're Irish?
Hey, yeah. I'm 40. We're both 40. Me and Javi don't fight like that.
We're trained.
I've seen middle-aged men like get into fights. And it's a lot of like,
it's ridiculous.
I kind of like grab you by the collar of your shirt and just like try to punch a hole in your face. Like that's kind of like, and then if you go to the ground, I'm gonna like kind of kick you. Like
I know what you're saying. But
that's
I wasn't
like
expecting
middle-aged
that.
like bar fight technique.
I wasn't expecting. I was expecting like someone who was in the army and then is a hitman. I was expecting a little bit.
Yeah, but and like so he was
nicer.
He was in World
technique.
The character Frank was in World War II.
Right.
The main like correct me. I believe I'm pretty accurate, but the main like kind of like combat like techniques they showed like in World War II, it was basically just basic boxing.
Yeah.
A lot of guys just box. I know like my grandpa was in World War II. Like he boxed in like a lot of tournaments in the army. Like that was their main like
source of combat.
That was their main like hand-to-hand combat like training protocol. It was a lot of boxing, and they had a lot of boxing tournaments within the military.
And some good old-fashioned curb stomping too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like this is
Jesus.
Yeah, sorry, side tangent. I actually like collect old martial arts and military hand-to-hand manuals and things like that. And like almost every technique is like trip the man to the ground, stomp his brains in. Yeah. Trip the man to the ground and bayonet him. Like that. It's always get him down to the ground
and attack the face.
And, stomp the face, stomp the groin.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie was amazing.
Where do you find stuff like that?
Internet.
The movie was amazing. The way they had them look, the age, how they aged them, and how they made him younger. It was really amazing.
Is De Niro the Irishman?
Yes.
No. You can only digitally de-age the face.
Funny,
you cannot digitally de-age their joints.
right. But it was fascinating. I mean, I know that story is disputed, but
is it based off of something that
I don't need it to be true for it to be good?
Basically, I mean, I'll just give you the premise of it. It's about Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance and death. Who killed Jimmy Hoffa, basically? Wow. And this guy, who it's about, the Irishman,
it's like Frank Sheeran,
claims that he's the one who did it. On his deathbed. On
his deathbed, he basically like confessed all of his stuff in the kind of like in a narrated format to a writer, and then the guy eventually wrote a book called the book's called "I Hear You Paint Houses," which is like a code saying that like you kill people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or at least it used to be. You can't use that one no more. Now you ask somebody, they're like, "Yeah, of course I paint houses.
Yeah,
what color you want?
Yeah. So I mean,
I would like my house painted red.
It's a fascinating story, and it was very well done.
Also, if you like that time period a lot, like I I'm a big like history buff, especially in like U.S. history, especially through like the 20th century. So like. So to me, it was like a perfect like time period.
One thing I didn't understand about the way maybe
is it in?
It's
like the 60s,
yeah,
kind of 60s, and then like leading up into like later because he's kind of like narrating.
As like
yeah.
So one thing I didn't understand, and I didn't look it up yet. You know how they would show writing like when this person died. Mm-hmm. Were they trying to say that Frank killed that person?
No, they're just giving like this was this person in the story.
Yeah,
and
he got shot.
XYZ ended up happening to him,
but not that Frank killed him.
No,
because he did kill one of the guys in it.
Yeah, he did kill one of them. Then he talked about like
right. So that's why I was kind of like, well, were they showing those because that's one of his hits or that's who he claimed to kill? That's why, you know what I'm saying? And what was an odd character was Sebastian Maniscalco.
What?
He was in it. I was like,
I think he did a good job.
He did a good job, but
it's just like, but because of anyone who's seen his stand up, you're just like,
I know.
I can't believe this guy.
Funny.
It was funny, but I couldn't take him seriously. He was a mob guy.
He was a mob guy named Joey Gallo.
Yeah.
Well,
and
so that's like when like Joey Diaz is in like The Sopranos.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like
that's really funny.
It's funny.
So when speaking of Joey Diaz, like his this like big movie was like when he was in The Longest Yard with like Adam Sandler. I remember being like, I think I was in around like maybe 7th grade, like when that came out.
Say something ridiculous.
And that was like the first movie, like me and like one of my best friends, like who lived down the street from me, that we like convinced our parents like let us go see like by ourselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh man, Joey Diaz was also in a pizza commercial that I remember somebody like linked me to, and I'm like, holy shit! What the?
Joey Diaz.
I'm not used to Joey Diaz being clean for anything. You know, yeah, he's talking like. I can't remember exactly what
But
it
if
was.
if it's a commercial that he's going to be in,
Yeah, it was like
a pizza commercial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, dog.
Or he's like a pizza. I don't remember the exact commercial, but like pizza is involved. He's like the owner of a pizza restaurant, and like a commercial for like some telecom or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah. I didn't know Joey by reputation at that point when that commercial came on, and then I saw it years later. Somebody had linked me to it, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this is the same guy.
I find it hilarious how you used to, like, for a while, he was like a car salesman. I'm just like, oh, that must have been hilarious. I would for sure bought a car
I
from
would have
him.
bought 2 cars from that guy.
Or maybe you wouldn't have. He's like,
That's so funny.
I gotta wonder what his car salesman technique was like. If it's anything like a stand-up, that's pretty abrasive.
It's probably like the things that he posts. He's like,
Yeah.
it's Monday.
He'd be all like, I know you, dog. Friday, you want to take your girl out. This is the car you take her out with.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
You guys doing technique today? You showing some technique?
I mean, I have something in mind.
Yeah. Gary?
Yeah, why not?
It's a little goofy.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, goofy! I do love a goofy technique.
We'll see if you guys like it. I kind of like. It was really funny actually. We were doing head and arm stuff, kind of like 3 weeks ago, and the setups that we were doing essentially was like head and arm snap down and either like spinning around to the back or like setting up anaconda and dars.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is oddly synced up with what I've been teaching the last couple of months.
Really? That's too funny. And it was just kind of this weird little accident. I came up with it in the gi, and it was like going for an anaconda when they're standing, and you could do it when they're turtled too. But it's like going for an anaconda from the head and arm. So you grab that far tricep, and then you can either grab the belt or the hip, and then just kind of put in like your close side wedge. If you are standing, you just end up like leaning or like, getting your weight on top of them so that you can fall back, extend your little butterfly hook, and then you take the back. But like it's a lot more smooth when you're in the turtle position, I feel like. But it's like a really nice, interesting, unique little thing to take the back off of like a threat.
Let's go.
I'm interested to see what you
out.
guys think.
Yeah. Let's go see it. Anything else we want?
No, I think that about covers it for now.
Yeah. We'll talk about Soul Fighters next time.
Oh, will we?
You guys, it has been a pleasure. I really appreciate the invitation. It's
Dude,
been a lot
it's
of
been
fun.
awesome having you guys, man. And thanks for that match on
Yep,
Fight
thanks
to
for
Win.
having me. Yep.
Where can people find you guys?
If you want to come hang out with me at 10th Planet Chicago, that's cool.
Oh,
I'll come.
Yeah, and then
And you're welcome to come anytime.
go on Instagram handle mgarrity47jj.
Real easy to remember.
Super easy. My Instagram handle is jpontarelli21. I train out of Fit to Defend Academy off of 41 in Lake Bluff with like Scott Gave, Dale Bowser, Blake Classman,
Those savages.
those little slimy animals.
slimy.
all right, guys. Well, thanks for having us, or thanks for coming out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what? Be sure to subscribe. Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right? Oh.